So today I thought I would try a bit of a different video because today we'll be talking about Animatic Battle's most underrated characters. These won't be in any particular order, but I thought I'd give my opinion on who are some of the most underrated characters in the show and deserve more love. If you guys like these kinds of videos where I just discuss things about the series, do let me know. And yeah, that's about it, so let's just jump into it. Along with a couple other characters, Raid was the first character that came to mind when making this video. Nowadays, in the past month or so, he's started to get a lot more appreciated, but I remember when a lot of people used to hate on Raid so badly to the point of being incredibly upset that he didn't get out in episode 2. And honestly, I never got the hate for Raid. Listen, I get it, Raid might come off as a BFB Cake clone at first, but if you really look at his scenes, then immediately, you can tell that there's a lot more to him than you might think. Raid's goal above all is to become an amazing lifesaver like Red Sticky Hand, and I can't help but think that's honestly a really nice cause and goal for a character in any show. And I'm glad the whole lifesaving aspect of Raid got explored way more in episode 3, as the subplot was really memorable and fun to watch, and along with that, it did cause Raid to get a ton more supporters. I get why you might not like Raid. He was mostly the reason why Benjamin lost in episode 1, and I can see why it was frustrating just to watch him not recover his fellow teammates and get to the challenge. But I don't know. Raid meant well, and I still didn't mind him. But yeah, as I said, this recent episode made a lot of Raid haters turn a new leaf from him, which is great to see as I think he has a ton of potential story-wise, and I'm so happy he's starting to get the attention he deserves. So, while not as underrated as the others on this list in my opinion, I still think Raid is just a tad bit underappreciated and should still get way more credit in general. Another character that came to mind when coming up with this video for me was Meatball. I really don't see much talk about Meatball, which is a darn shame because from what we've seen from Meatball up to this point, he's a great character in my eyes. Firstly, I just want to briefly go over his design and the fact he can make different things and do cool stuff with his noodle limbs, which I personally find sick as hell. But second, I don't think anyone pays attention to just how great he is in challenges. Episode 1 was amazing because even though he didn't want to help, Meatball was still really funny when his fellow Meatballers were trying to get him to help destroy the M, where he then proceeded to have a whole mental breakdown when they did destroy the M. But episode 2 is where Meatball really shines because he leads the way for everyone on his team, except Do, to safety, and comes up with a really good plan, which is digging a hole using eject. Later on, he tries to talk B-Block into stopping her mischief before eventually getting killed, so overall Meatball really shined in this episode as an incredible teammate, and though getting less than 10 seconds of screen time in episode 3, it is assumed Meatball at least somewhat helped with growing the Sunflower, which is always good too. So yeah, I think Meatball is really underrated because of how helpful he is in challenges, and how funny he can be sometimes, and his really cool design and limbs. The next character I think is really underrated in this video is a veteran you all know and love, and that is Cher. There isn't really too much to note about Cher, however, I do enjoy his happy and wholesomeness, and I think that was really brought out in episode 3, which is what I'm going to mostly talk about when it comes to Cher, as he got a lot of time to shine this go. It was just really nice watching him going around and enjoying his day while the challenge was on, and just being so happy all the time when talking with others such as Sippy, Demon Core, and Eggnog Jr. just to name a few. That's not the whole deal behind him though, as Cher has proven to be a pretty decent teammate, like being the diver for destroying the M in Object Fool in episode 1. As I said, there really isn't too much to Cher, but I hope there is at least a decent sized voter base that will try to save Cher. I think he'll still be safe around 4th to 6th in the elimination this time though, so he should be okay. Even so though, Cher is a really great character that goes under the radar to most fans, so I hope he gets more love. Another character some of you guys probably didn't expect to see on this list here today is Printer, and I would argue Printer is by far the least talked about character in the show, as most people forget about her or hate on her whenever she is being brought up. And just like Raid before episode 3, I just never got the hate she gets, and I still don't understand why she isn't being talked about that much 3 episodes in. But anyway, I think the personality behind Printer, with her being scared of everything, is really unique to the show in a good way, and characters like Printer are far and few between in object shows, maybe besides Woody from Battle for Dream Island. But the fact that she's scared of everything really has potential in my opinion. I mean, think of all the potential storylines or arcs she could have, whether that's trying to get over a lot of her fears or doing something about them. This could also involve Pancake Batter, her best friend, who, speaking of, really helps Printer in a way that shows that there is someone who cares about her and isn't just an outcast. But anyway, the Printer we have now is pretty good. It was mainly episode 1 that shows who Printer really is, with the moments with Pancake Batter and the scene where she ran off because Papaya scared her away. I do hope she gets a bit more time in these coming episodes, considering she barely appears in episodes 2 and 3, but I know the Animatic Battle team will do something great with her, so I'm hoping to see more of Printer, and even with the one we have now, she's still really great and definitely deserves more love. The fifth character I'll be discussing today and talk about why I personally think they're underrated is Bouquet. And honestly, while she's still probably the least underrated on this list so far, I still think she could do with a bit more appreciation. From my first watch of episode 1 to the series now, I have always enjoyed Bouquet quite a bit and would argue that there's quite a few reasons to like her as well if you don't enjoy her too much. For one, she's a pretty calm and passive person and is quite reasonable, like telling the group that sent Danger Sign to space was just cruel and immoral before inevitably being sent to jail. But after being freed, she's still shown to be quite the kind person that she is. Like, you can't help but just love the small moments she has with some characters like Bob-omb, especially in episode 1, and Golden Apple later down in the series. There honestly isn't too much she has done, but I'm just super glad she was safe in episode 3, and judging off the fact that she was 4th safe on the meat pills, I would argue she's starting to get a lot more likeness from the fans, though I still think she's a bit underrated. And the final character we'll be talking about today, and probably the most controversial character on the list, is none other than Sticky. So here's the thing with her. Before Animatic Battle 3, she was perfectly rated in my eyes. Not loved, but still a pretty notable character in the community. However, people had completely turned against poor Sticky as soon as the elimination for episode 3 played out, because Eyepatch, who's a beloved character, got out in the bottom 2 instead of her. And honestly, I think it's a really dumb reason to hate not just Sticky, but any character just because they survived over someone else you might like more. I mean, it wasn't the writer's choice for this to happen, it's none other than the voters. If they want to save Eyepatch, then they should have voted for him, it's really as simple as that. But I've also seen some people who say she's super bland and hasn't done anything, and I just really don't get that. Like, I'd argue she has a couple things going for her, such as her arc with Flashlight that could kick off at any time now, and picking grass with her best friend Tomato. It was also fun seeing her in episode 1 just getting lied to and being sent to jail only minutes later. In episode 2 and 3, she doesn't really do too much substantial, but I'll argue that's okay considering episode 1 she plays a pretty considerate part. So yeah, I will never ever get the hate for Sticky, and though not as underrated as some other people on the list, she is definitely the most hated right now, so I hope things get better for her. So yeah, those were some of Animatic Battle's most underrated characters in my opinion, and let me know what you think. Do you agree with some of the takes I have, or do you disagree with some things? Let me know in the comments and I would be more than happy to discuss it. And let me know as well if you like these kinds of videos where I just discuss some of my thoughts on certain aspects of the series, as I've only really done a couple of those kinds of videos where I just chill and voice my opinion. So as I said, let me know if you like these kinds of videos and I'll definitely do more if so. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.